the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
We're a little over a month away from Tennessee baseball being back here, so our weekly player spotlight, Christian Moore, Tony Vitello quietly pouring a little water on Christian Simo, being the everyday shortstop for Tennessee in 2024. But wherever he plays, he's going to be a big factor. He's probably Tennessee's best hitter going into 2024. He's probably who you trust the most going into 2024 with the bat. But look, what can Vol fans expect out of Simo in 2024? What are you looking for him to improve upon from last year, and where do you think he ultimately best fits on this Tennessee team?
Well, what you get is just a complete hitter, a guy that hits for power, hit over 300 last season, and a guy that carried Tennessee's offense at times. And certainly Tennessee's offense was not particularly good at least by College World Series standards last year. It was not very good, and he was a guy that was unbelievable. You go back to the Clemson Regional when he, I believe it was, hit more home runs than outs he recorded.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that was the stat. I mean, just unbelievable. Or maybe it was as many. And there was another weekend too. I'm trying to remember which one it was. Maybe Georgia, sometime in the back. Maybe there was one other SEC weekend where he was just incredible for Tennessee. So I think when you talk about where you're looking for him to improve, it's consistency. It is consistency as a hitter. He was a little bit streaky at times. Certainly not as streaky as some of Tennessee's batters, but it was a lot of really, really high boom and then just kind of average hitter at times. I don't think he was ever necessarily a bad hitter through a lot of these weekends. And defensively, he wasn't necessarily always the most consistent, a little erratic. And now you have him going into his junior year and maybe stepping into a big spot. And certainly, I think it's most ideal for Tennessee if he's their starting shortstop. Like, where does he fit best? Tennessee hopes he fits best at shortstop because I think that's presents the best opportunities for them to have the best lineup, and it's a guy that's a veteran who's played a lot of SEC baseball starting at shortstop instead of a young guy or some sort of newcomer. Obviously, it could be a JUCO guy in there too. Question is, can he do that? Can he play with enough consistency? Because there were stretches of the season he wasn't even a particularly good defensive second baseman last year. Now, that wasn't anything, I don't think, to do with talent. He's got a good arm. He's an athletic guy. I think he's certainly capable. He made a handful of plays that, if they weren't jaw droppers, were at least really, really nice defensive plays. It's about going out there and being able to do it consistently. Was over at Lindsey Nelson Stadium a lot this fall. Rarely was there a day Christian Moore was not working at shortstop for a long, long bit. So I think Tony Vitello said at one point, he said, he's going over there and he's not moving until I tell him to. Christian Moore wants that job. He wants to be the starting shortstop. And certainly Tennessee hopes that there's a level of maturity and a level of gain consistency where he can become that guy for them this season.
Does it affect the ball ceiling if he's not shortstop and he's at second and you have to move some guys that you don't necessarily want to move around?
Yeah, I think it probably does. I mean, I think it's hard to say by how much. I just think it gives him a lot more flexibility if he plays shortstop. And just the fact, I think, even from a defensive standpoint, his ceiling's probably the best of any of those shortstop options. I mean, Ariel Antigua was kind of the same way in that can do a lot of really impressive things there, but it's just hard to imagine. You don't see a whole lot of true freshmen starting at shortstop and being really good defensive shortstops in the SEC. So I think it does from a number of ways. Certainly the versatility and the way the Tennessee would be able to tinker with things, which I think they're going to do a lot, at least early in the season with the depth they have, but also just from the fact that I think he has the best opportunity to be, at least has the highest ceiling of any of their shortstop options.
He hit 17 home runs a year ago. What do you think the number is this year? If you had to guess the bump, do you think he's in the 23 to 25 range? Where do you think he gets to?
I think that's hard to say. I mean,
and the reason I bring that up, he had 10 in 2022. So he's gone up 7. If he went up 7 again, he's in that 2024 or the 24-25 range.
See, I don't think that's a fair exercise to do because he probably got significantly more at bats.
Only 100.
That he didn't. Yeah, only 100 more at bats. And where does 100 more at bats going to come from this year? Because he was in the starting lineup every single game. So I would say, I'll say he gets above 17, but doesn't get to 20. The number I look for, the number I want to see raised, I think he hit 13 doubles last season. Get up to 15 plus doubles. Get to 20 doubles and 18 home runs, or 19 home runs and 17 doubles. Be more just a lot more extra base hits just besides home runs. That's the number I would look at, is how much more consistent can he get there.
Final thing, true or false, at the end of this 2024 Tennessee baseball season, we will say that Christian Moore was the best 1 through 9 player on Tennessee's roster this year.
I'll say true.
Yeah.
I think so. Like, to the talent, I think he's the most talented guy in Tennessee's lineup.
Mm.
The question is, can he be consistent? Not put it all together, because we've seen him put it all together. Can he be consistent through an entire season, and just string together a lot of impressive stuff? And consistency has been the question for him throughout his career, and being
nicely done, nephew.
I think even
The
just
Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah!
Being in the right spot, having the right even keel attitude. I think another year, third board, and I think he'll get closer to that. And I think because he has the highest ceiling of any of those guys, and he's been through the ringer a full year, and he's really had 2 years of being a factor. I can see it. I think he's kind of could be a classic guy that you see in the SEC that plays a lot as a freshman and sophomore, and then makes a massive jump as a junior, and is one of those guys that's going to be in the consideration and in the conversation for SEC Player of the Year.
I like it. Ryan, what can the good folks check out from you and the team over at RockyTopInsider.com this week?
Yeah, so plenty of stuff